Day 2 of spring practice for Tennessee football is in the books. We had 9 periods of practice to watch today, so we'll start with some observations, then get into what Tim Banks and some of the freshman defenders had to say up on the podium. I'm Ryan Sylvia. This is Noah Taylor. We're with VolReport.com on the Rivals Network. And if you want our full notebook, the full observations, the starting lineups, everything like that, everything you need to know from what happened here today, head over to VolReport.com. We have the notebook on the message board. Everything you need is right there if you want to be fully up to date on everything that's going on here at spring practice. But we're going to kind of scratch the surface here. We'll start with you, Noah. Your thoughts from what we saw at practice today?
Yeah, I got to see, like you said, 9 periods, a decent amount than what we typically get to see, especially on the second day. And kind of jumping right into it, some one-on-ones with receivers. I got to see them kind of go up and obviously not full speed, but some contested catches and things like that. I think the play of the day, when you got to see the one offense work together, was going up against the ones on defense as well, was Chris Brazzell, the guy that, one of the highly touted transfer portal additions for this Tennessee team, comes up with a really nice catch off a Nico rollout right along the sideline there. That was kind of the highlight play, I think, that we got to see anyway. And then Dylan Samson getting a lot of carries, getting also working as well out of the backfield, catching passes too, and making some nice plays. So it was very run heavy, I think. A lot of Dylan Samson was featured in what we saw, but I think that Brazzell play kind of gives us a little bit of a sample size of what that coaching staff saw in him and why they brought him to the team.
Yeah, it can be tough, especially with the running backs, to kind of judge exactly what is good and what's not, just because it's all non-contact right now. So what looks like a 40-yard run may have in reality been a 5-yard run. It's tough to tell sometimes, but Dylan Samson, I agree. I thought he looked really good. He looked quick, just everything you'd want to see at this point in the offseason from Dylan Samson. Something else of note on the offensive side is kind of the technology they're using. Now with the rule change, you're allowed to have the headset on, talk to the quarterback and all of that. Kind of some supply issues at the moment across college football with the rule change, but Tennessee is trying to get used to that in a regard. They still have the kind of old-fashioned signs on the sideline, but you see coaches wearing the headsets all around practice, which I thought was interesting as they try to adjust to what's next in college football. But Nico, touch on him really fast. He looked pretty good once again. A lot of routes against air. You saw some 1v1s and stuff like that. His throws for the most part looked good. You saw him with Joey Halsley talking a lot about just kind of fundamentals and just kind of techniques on throwing. It's a good sign to see. You heard Heupel yesterday talk about how he's in a good spot. There's some tweaks we want to make here and there, and we saw that on display today, which I think is good to see for your redshirt freshman quarterback taking over. And we saw as well Heupel yesterday talking about leadership. We touched on that in yesterday's video, where maybe he needs to grow in the team setting, but he's really good on the one-on-one setting. We saw that today as well, him kind of taking some receivers, talking them through stuff, figuring out their perspective, giving his perspective. So overall, I think it was a positive from what we saw out of Nico and really the entire offense and team today. Once again, can't put too much stock into everything, but thought it was a lot of positives out there. We'll talk about the podium though. Start with defensive coordinator Tim Banks. He met with the media, kind of preview the 2024 season on the defensive side of the ball. What were your takeaways?
Yeah, just kind of what he had to say about this secondary. Coming into the season, obviously with some transfer portal losses, some guys running out of eligibility, we kind of knew that's kind of been the story of this a lot of questions with this Tennessee secondary the last 4 years. But with some of those losses, you've had to bring in a lot of young guys. You had to bring in some guys from the transfer portals too. Obviously, first time we've got to talk to Tim Banks about those additions. Says for the guys that are here, that were here for bowl prep, early enrollees, says it feels like already they've been here a while. Feels like that's kind of, paying off. That experience has paid off so far, 2 days into spring practice. And then, Idris Farouk, we got to talk to him as well and talked about I think you asked it, that the age doesn't matter with these guys. They're expecting a lot out of even some of the guys you picked up out of the portal and some of the incoming freshmen, that they're expecting these guys to come in and play and compete immediately, which they're going to have with all the youth there.
Looking at the linebacker unit, of course, a new linebackers coach in William Inge out of Washington with Brian Jean-Marie going up to Michigan. Tim Banks talks about how that's kind of been a seamless transition and everything's gone well in that regard. I asked him as well about Keenan Peely and how that kind of helps change things when you have a guy with so much experience playing college football. Of course, he's only played one game last year before getting that medical red shirt, but he's been around the program for at least a year now. He's played a lot of football, and he talked about how much that helps having a guy like that in your room to be able to kind of take some of these younger guys under their wing, because it is a pretty young group when you look out there. Caleb Perry getting a run, he's in his third year. Jeremiah Thielander, a freshman. Aaron Carter is expected to play a lot this year. Jeremiah Thielander, a sophomore. Aaron Carter, also a sophomore, coming off their freshman seasons. A lot of youth out there. Talking to Edwin Spillman as well today, freshman, who could get some run. And he spoke as well about William Inge and how easy that transition's been, even though he commits to Brian Jean-Marie. Now he's got a new linebacker coach. Everything's been fine. So they feel good about that position as well, which has been one of maybe the weaker spots under Josh Heupel at times since he's gotten to Tennessee, just with what he inherited from past rosters. But so far so good, even with the new linebacker coach here in Knoxville. We met with 4 freshmen as well. What were your thoughts on what the freshmen had to say?
Yeah, you mentioned Spillman a second ago, Caleb Beasley, obviously the 2 teammates from Lipscomb Academy in Nashville, and 2 guys that are kind of making history here. Previously, guys from that level were unable to kind of early enroll. They jumped on the chance because of a rule change to do it, and they've hit the ground running. I mean, we were told yesterday that they enrolled, and UT announced it officially. They enrolled yesterday, and so they immediately go into spring practice. They've already been out here for 2 days. That was interesting to kind of get their perspective. Not so much what they've been able to do to adjust to the game, but just adjust to life as a college student as well. But 2 guys that have, I think they both said it. All the enrollees said it. Early enrollees that we talked to today have said it as well. But how valuable, this experience is going to be. That they jumped on the chance. They didn't want to wait until summer. They wanted to have that advantage, that upper hand over the guys that are going to probably arrive in the summer as well. So, seem very excited to be here and just kind of jump on it.
And Edwin Spillman might have a little bit of a leg up on everyone else as well, just because his older brother, Spillman, on the team as well, talked about how, hey, now they're in the same dorm, they're able to talk all the time, we're going over kind of play calls and stuff like that. So brothers reunited, been a theme here at Tennessee in recent years, and there's just another example of it. Also, we've got to talk to Boo Carter, of course, the athlete, in-state guy from the Chattanooga area. Questions were, is he going to start on offense? Is he going to start on defense? Well, he's a defensive back, and he said there really wasn't a big question about it to him, just because primary recruiter is Willie Martinez. He knew he was being recruited on the defensive side of the ball. But he did make sure to know, hey, I'm an athlete still, and talked about how he's comfortable on special teams. If he's returning punts, he feels good about that. He knows he's special with the ball in his hands. So it'll be interesting to see how his freshman year plays out, getting a lot of run at star to get things started. In the second year, he likes that because do what you want type of deal. Of course, you have to know where you are in the defense, but more freedom, I guess, is the right way to say it. So they know the athlete they have in Boo Carter. He's going to start on the defensive side of the ball, but it'll be interesting to see where he kind of gets into the fold on special teams, because it's tough to have that type of talent on your team and not get the ball in his hands in some shape or form. So we saw D. Williams, he's gone now. Maybe Boo Carter can kind of pick up where D. Williams left off. That'll do all from us here today inside Tennessee Football's practice facility. Like I said, over on the Rocky Top Forum at VolReport.com, we have the full rundown. If you want to know who was starting on the offensive line in that first unit, if you want to know kind of what the quarterbacks were doing, some of the individual reps and more starters on the defensive side, who was that first unit out on defense, everything there was that happened here in the practice facility today is over in the Rocky Top Forum. Make sure you guys go out and check it out. Links to everything you need is in the description. Thank you for watching.